Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Homegrown Brick, and this is going to be my review of the Modern Warfare 2 campaign. So I played on the PlayStation 5, and half the time I played on the DualSense controller, and the other half of the time I played on mouse and keyboard. I wanted to split it up just to see how the haptics were and the adaptive triggers were on the DualSense. I can say that both were just fine. The haptics, weren't anything to write home about. They were pretty similar to like Resident Evil Village if you played that. Definitely better than the rumble of DualShocks, but nothing really compared to Astro's Playroom. And the adaptive triggers were pretty similar to that of the last two Call of Duties. Both Cold War and Vanguard, I believe, had very similar adaptive triggers. So if you played those, it's pretty similar to that. And as far as the mouse and keyboard goes, I mean, it worked great. It was definitely my preferred method to play the game, and everything worked pretty flawlessly. There was one hiccup I had with it, though, unfortunately, in like the very last mission. One of the keybinds to open the backpacks just stopped working for some reason, so I had to switch to my controller and finish the mission off with the controller on the very last mission. So that kind of broke immersion a bit, unfortunately, which was a bit of a bummer. But other than that, I mean, everything worked great, and I think you'll have fun no matter how you want to play this game. Alright, let's start things off with the story. If you're looking for something that's just incredibly innovative at how well the writing is, this probably is not that. This feels like a traditional Call of Duty story in the Modern Warfare universe, and I think that's a really good thing. The summary of the story is the enemy has US missiles, and we need to figure out why they have them and where they are before they go off. It's a pretty straightforward story that didn't seem to have any overwhelmingly amazing plot twists, in my opinion. The game comes in at right around 6.5 to 7 hours, at least it did for me. I played at a relatively slow pace on the regular difficulty. Overall, I think the game is going to give you what you're expecting in terms of story, and I think that's just fine. Next up, let's talk about gameplay. To sum it up in a word, it was fantastic. The shooting felt crisp, the animations were top-notch, it feels really tactical for a Call of Duty title, which was great. It seems like they really built on what was so awesome about Modern Warfare 2019, and what I mean by that is there were plenty of up-close and personal, tight quarters style gameplay, which really increased the overall tension. I really enjoyed it, and I think you will too. What's crazy is, as great as the gameplay was, what really stole the show for me was sound design and lighting. Let's talk about sound design, because holy shit, I had never thought I'd be like, wow, that Call of Duty sounds so great, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but there were a number of times when I was playing, I had to take off my headphones and check the room around me to make sure that like the clanking noise I heard, or maybe a little bit of like the dripping of water, wasn't in my own personal space, but it was actually just in the game. I was really pleased with the sound, obviously, and I can't say enough good things about it. Talking about things that I'm super pleased with, the lighting is insane. The only real way to understand how nicely everything looks is to actually play the game yourself, unfortunately. Watching a YouTube video about how nice the lighting is or how great everything looks with like the reflections, it's not going to do it justice. The way the light hits your firearm in the game is incredible, and I really hope you get a chance to experience it because it's significantly better than any other Call of Duty that I've played personally. So the last thing I want to talk about in this review are some of the weird things I experienced, maybe some of the negatives that I thought could have been done better in this Call of Duty. During some of the more cinematic scenes, they make it super grainy. They use some like grainy filter, like they're trying to give it more of an artistic feel, which is totally fine. But other cutscenes in the game that are running in engine, I assume, don't have that grainy look to them, and it just comes off as a little distracting. At least it did for me. I had to go and like check my resolution to make sure everything was working correctly, because I don't know if I noticed it right away, but it was definitely noticeable, like the grainy filter, and it turned out it was fine, like everything was running as it should be, but it was just definitely a little distracting. Another thing I wasn't super fond of was, some of the missions did feel a little drawn out. It wasn't anything super extreme, like it wasn't too bad, but it seemed like they were trying to make sure the game was a certain length, no matter how fast you wanted to play it. I found myself saying on a few missions, like, we're still going, like it's not done. I know it's a minor gripe, like they gave us more content, oh, boo-hoo, but it was something that I think could have been condensed a little more and maybe just gave an overall better product at the end. The final weird thing that I witnessed was this sort of glitchy thing that would happen when I'd interact with a door or a rope. I'll try to put something on screen here to give an example, but basically the camera would pan to the other side of whatever you were interacting with, just briefly, just before the interaction happened. Again, nothing major, and it didn't happen every time, but it was a little distracting, and again, did break the immersion just a little bit. Overall, I do think this Call of Duty was a great campaign for a Call of Duty game. It was definitely one of the better ones that I've personally played, and feels like they built quite a bit on what Modern Warfare 2019 brought to the table. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. It really helps me out, and we'll catch you in the next one.